Welcome to the Social Podcast, where no discussion or debate is off limits.
Welcome to the Social! Your morning host, Kelsey McEwen, and actor and comedian Miguel Rivas are here with us today. Welcome to you both. Okay, well, let's jump into our first story today because CTV News is reporting that a BC man was ordered to pay a company $4,000 over a negative review that he posted on Google. So the man claimed that an employee of the company hit his car and then drove off. After confronting them, he shared the hit and run story online, and then he said to readers, don't do business with that business, calling those owners and the staff there, quite frankly, liars. So this is an online review. It was negative. We see them all the time. Maybe you've written one or two. But should you be fined for a negative review?
I mean, absolutely not, right? Like,
what? Where are we going?
Hey, well, here's the deal. We have so little power as consumers anymore. They've taken everything away from us. The least we can do is rant online on a Google review, right? Like, I went to a restaurant, a very nice restaurant for a special occasion, and the person I was with, it was a 10-course meal. The person I was with had a medical emergency, like, early on, and they had to leave. They fainted, and they're fine. But we had to leave the restaurant after 2 courses. And the restaurant was like, well, it was set up for you guys for a 10-course meal, so we have to charge you the whole thing. And then I called them after being like, we ate like a salad and some bread. And they're like, yeah, but we set it all up. And I was like, yeah, but my friend left in an ambulance.
Yeah.
So you better believe I went on Google and I was like, do not eat at this restaurant.
Oh. But the difference being what happened to you was true.
Yeah.
You were a consumer at that restaurant. You were not pleased with what your experience there. Whereas this situation, it's a full-out lie. He gave a bad review of a business that he never walked into. So that's the idea of like this idea of review bombings, like where people may be politically motivated will review bomb a restaurant or a movie, and they haven't been to the restaurant, they haven't seen the movie. I'm against. So should this be allowed? Well, it is allowed because this guy just got sued and he has to pay the money. And I think it is a good recourse for defamation.
Yeah. Well, I also think about the tiny little small businesses that they do the best that they can. They put out their product out there. And if someone goes online and gives this awful review and leaves these horrible words there, what kind of action does this tiny little business have to deal with something like that, especially if it's not true? Because for me, this comes down to a money game. Who has money for lawyers?
Right.
Does the business have money to take you to court and to fight you? Do you have the money to fight back? So both parties kind of have to play by a set of rules here.
I think that's why we don't see it more. Because it takes time and money.
Well, and the suing of the negative reviews. Yeah.
I think that as a customer, like I get really scared to write anything negative online because those words live forever. We have a criminal code of Canada where if you defame somebody online, you have to pay for it. There is free speech, but there are consequences to that free speech.
Yeah, but I think it doesn't always have to be lawyers. I get what you're saying, but it doesn't always have to be lawyers. Like I sometimes actually really appreciate when I see a negative review, but I see how the business has handled it. That might actually make me want to go and actually patronize a business. So for example, I'll share my little story. I did one of those home sharing apps. When I travel, I rent homes all the time when I travel because it's way cheaper than hotels. And I went and I saw this beautiful listing in London, England. I was gonna spend a lot of money on the trip, but I wanted to save money on my accommodations, but it was a beautiful place. But when we pulled up and walked in, it was like a horror movie. I said, this is not the same place. So I said, I'm not sleeping here. When I say it wasn't a nice place, I wasn't just being bougie. I know I could maybe be bougie.
The flowers are a day old.
Oh, you know. No, I mean, I could get that, but that wasn't me that day. It was the person's personal belongings were everywhere. There were underwear hanging in the bathroom.
Oh, God.
There were cockroaches, like it was a problem.
Oh,
and I said, lead with that. So I literally said, I wrote to her and I said, I'm really sorry, we can't stay here and I'd like a refund on my money. And so I did this privately. I did a private DM and I said, I'm sorry, I'd like, whatever. She was like, well, I've already left. I banked on this money this month. And she came at me with negativity. So what did Melissa do? I said, time to go public. You know why? Because I'm gonna save you wasting your money. She never gave me a refund. So guess what? In that case, if she would have handled me better, I would have been like, you know what? Let's find a middle ground. But if the business owner doesn't handle me well, there's the consequence to your point.
Well, and to what you said, Miguel. We have so little power as a consumer. You have to really choose where you spend your money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
really
a good
do.
point.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
true.
Okay, so people on Reddit are sharing things they no longer buy because they've gotten too expensive, like fast food, fizzy water, and manicures. So what have you guys stopped buying, or is there anything you've stopped buying because of the cost these days?
Well, like to that last point that I just said, like we have to choose where we spend our money, and I feel like everything is too expensive. I have 3 kiddos, and if we go as a family of 5 to try and go for takeout, which like God forbid a mom just needs some takeout on a Friday night, it's like $75 at minimum. So that's off the table. We're not
Forget
doing
about going
that.
to a restaurant with kids in your family.
Yeah.
So much money.
You need a life insurance policy to go for a restaurant with children anyway. I haven't dyed my hair in 2 years because of just the cost, the sheer cost of being
Wait, you don't
blonde.
have gray hair yet then?
I've got a few. They're coming in. I count them as they come.
Because there's box color for that, and it's way cheaper.
Like, for me, the thing that has changed over the last few years is I don't have brand loyalty anymore. And I used to be a person where, like, my mom bought a brand, I'd buy that brand. Or if you said you loved it, I'd buy too. Now, I have coupon loyalty.
Yes. What about you, Miguel?
I feel like I'm trying to put a positive spin on this, and it's forcing me to develop new hobbies. I'm thrifting more instead of buying new clothes. And I'm trying to like have an eye for fashion for that, and specifically with kids, buying new clothes for them as they grow at such a young age. You just rack up bills spending so much money on kids' clothes. So now every piece of clothing I buy for my kids is thrifted.
That's amazing.
And you go to their school, and other kids are dressed to the nines, and they look amazing. So you do have to put a little bit of effort into it. And then I'm keeping like a sourdough starter in the kitchen as a pet.
Ooh,
you know, like
amazing.
trying to learn to be a better cook. And maybe that's like a very like sad way to look at it. But I'm trying to spin it in a positive way. I'm getting new hobbies out of this.
What about you, Jess?
You know what? My life hasn't changed drastically because I think I've always been cheap. I love a manicure and a pedicure. I would probably love Botox, but I don't get those things because I do the compare game. I think I have a kindred spirit here, where I look at the price of something and then compare to what I could get that I would like more, like pizza, for example. That is why I'm still missing a tooth. I don't know if this camera can get it. I'm missing a tooth here.
You chipped it on a pizza?
No, it's a whole... It's a whole tooth that's been missing for 25 years. Oh my God. And it's because whenever I get a quote for how much it will be, it's $2,000.
Wait, Jess, but we have benefits.
But we have benefits. That's with the benefits.
Oh my God.
Oh, I get that.
It's not,
Well,
thank you.
maybe you could like
So I can't do it, I'm
maybe
so
Botox at home could be a new hobby.
No,
Inject yourself with needles.
Oh my God, please no.
I'll do it. I'll get into it. I'm the hobbyist.
Wow. That is, we'll talk about the dental work. I feel like that's not one you should be cheaping out on, but I get it.
Look at what else you
I
can. I could get a new driveway.
I get it.
I could go on a trip.
I know.
You don't even see it unless I show it to you. You guys never saw it, right?
I love the ladies in the front row here. They're like,
no, we're with
yes,
Jess.
yes.
Forget the
Leave the teeth. Let's support the teeth.
I feel seen. Thank you.
Until you're missing 6 or 7 teeth, it's not an issue.
Why don't we leave that right there?
We could have an intervention then.
We could.
So here's a question for you. Is it okay to use AI to help you express difficult emotions? The Atlantic is reporting that ChatGPT has become a ghostwriter for all sorts of hard things like breakups, texts, obituaries, wedding vows. So are we okay with machines taking over the audience?
I know, there's a lovely lady who said, but it has to be heartfelt. But can't you do a really heartfelt prompt? So, you know, for those of you who don't know how ChatGPT works, it's the art of the prompt, meaning you have to still put in and type in what you want GPT to generate for you. So I gave it a little try, and I wanted to write my co-hosts a little note today.
Okay.
Dear Jess, Kelsey, and Miguel, I just wanted to take a moment to express how much I genuinely enjoy working with each of you. Every day on set with you is not only productive, but full of laughter, insight, and meaningful conversation. The dynamic we've created together with our diverse perspectives and shared passion is something truly special. I go on because it's very heartfelt, but here's what I did do. That took
5 seconds to get out of ChatGPT. ChatGPT wrote that, but here was my prompt. Write a short letter to my television show co-host expressing how much I enjoy working with them. So I still feel that way.
Yeah.
ChatGPT just did the work for me, but the heart is still in the same place. No?
Not everyone's Shakespeare.
No.
I mean, come on.
I mean, the details are not anything you prompted, though, right? Like, I feel like the sentiment is there, but you know, if you're thinking about obituaries or eulogies or like retirement or wedding, you know, best man speech or something, those are the moments you're supposed to rise to the occasion, isn't it? It's supposed to be hard. You're supposed to dig down and get something.
It's a good point.
You know, like, I feel like 12 people might get the exact same text that you just had in different scenarios. And then you say it, it's like, that's so nice. And then the next time I hear someone else does it, it's the same text. I'll be like, what the heck's going on?
Right. But tell me this. So say you get asked to be the best man at someone's wedding, and you sit down and you write your speech, and you're thinking, oh, I don't know, I'm not really a words guy. This happened to my husband. He said, I'm not really a words guy. So what did he do? Well, he came to me, because I'm the words person. So how is coming to me any different than going to ChatGPT?
But did he go, can you go in another room and write something and bring it back? Or was he like, can you help me do this together?
Well, I mean, in his case, like, I often do a lot of the writing for him, and then he will take it and kind of tailor it to how he talks. Even when it comes to like business emails, I'm happy to help because words are my thing. Words are my love language. I'm happy to do that. You know, I think about like a condolence letter or a breakup text. Empathy is a learned trait. Right? Like we're not born into the world knowing how to be empathetic. We learn it. And if you don't have the same set of tools that maybe I had or maybe someone else had, why can't ChatGPT be a tool?
But how do you learn empathy if you don't practice in those specific scenarios?
This is
Well, valid.
I was ready to, I would never admit to using ChatGPT, but when I do use it, I use it and put in the prompts. I think I agree with you, prompts are key. And then I take what it gives me as sort of the structure and then manipulate it. It gives me a starting base. But then you won me over with some of these things. They're meant to be hard, especially writing an obituary, especially expressing condolences. And that really does strike me. And it reminds me of, how do you say it? Cyrano de Bergerac? Yes, thank you. I only know that play and that person via a 1987 movie called Roxanne, starring Steve Martin and Daryl Hannah. Quickly, the premise is, Daryl Hannah falls in love with this cute boy who's kind of dumb, and Steve Martin has a big nose and doesn't think Daryl Hannah will ever love him. And Steve Martin begins writing letters to her, but she thinks they're from the cute boy. She falls in love with the letter writer, and then realizes that the boy with the big nose was actually the letter writer, and then puts aside all of those things and falls in love with the guy with the big nose because he writes a letter. My point being, are we all going to fall in love with AI? Because they're writing all the letters for us.
Love with robots is one step away.
I mean, when you look at societal expectation, love with robots is not on the list. And the reason why I say that is because in a recent interview with Esquire, Andrew Garfield reveals he has doubts about parenthood, one of those societal expectations. And he's releasing himself from all of that, all of those things you're supposed to do, in air quotes, by the age of 40. He's saying, enough with that. I am done with it. So what do we think about this? Miguel, I want to turn it to you. You're a dad.
I am, yeah.
Andrew's saying this, he's not a dad. He's saying he doesn't know that he ever needs to be a dad because that is kind of what's expected of us. What do you think?
Well, first of all, he says, you know, he doesn't, because he's 40, he doesn't want to be a tired dad. Newsflash, you're going to be a tired dad whenever you have a kid.
Whatever age.
Like, even if you're 20,
This is true.
you're going to be exhausted. And, you know, isn't it easy for a man to say that, right? Like, at any age? To be like,
just
you know, I think I'm
Miguel.
out on parenthood. And then 2 years later, he's like, I met the new love of my life, and now I want to be a dad. And it's like, women don't have that option.
luxury.
When they make that choice, oftentimes it's a lot more permanent, right? And you can't go back. Where he could be 60 and decide he wants to have kids. So to take a weird, like, sort of moral high ground in this scenario feels a bit, I don't know, insensitive to the whole issue?
Don't you think, though, I mean, maybe this is me as a woman, but I thought it was really refreshing to be hearing a man talking about fatherhood or the pressure to have a kid by a certain age. I do want to get into your friend group a little.
Okay.
Do you guys sit around and talk about these existential issues?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I have a lot of friends who are dads and a lot of friends who are not dads. And you know, I don't think that anyone should have to become a parent. I think it's your choice, and your choice can evolve over time. But I do think that a lot of that is your own personal choice, and to put that on other people going either way is a bit tacky in some way, you know? Like, let other people make their own choices.
Yeah.
I feel like reading this story with Andrew Garfield, he was a bit sort of projecting that this is a good way to be, and maybe it's a good way to be for him. But for other people, it might not be. And also, 40's not old, okay?
40's not, that's an excellent point.
Yeah, very true.
I feel like what Andrew Garfield is admitting, it's like, well, hi, welcome to the club, like you're part of a larger trend, because we are seeing marriage rates and birth rates drop worldwide, almost entirely worldwide. So why do you think that is?
Why birth rates are dropping?
Yeah.
Well, I think there's
Or like why more people like Andrew Garfield and like me who are comfortable not following those societal sort of milestones of getting married and having kids.
I think part of it is people like Andrew Garfield standing up and saying, hey, I don't know that this is for me. It's really freeing.
So like if you see it, you can be it.
I think so. I think so. Listen, I'm a person who followed every societal expectation. Like I married my high school sweetheart, and then we had kids, and then I got my career, and I did all the things that kind of were expected of me by the time I hit the ages I was supposed to do it by. For me, though, where I relate to this story is that as I get older, the things that really held me hostage when I was younger, like caring what people thought of me, as I get closer to 40, that I'm able to let go of. I'm able to let go of this like good girl idea and being like pleasing and pleasant. And I can just say to heck with it, I don't need to do that anymore. And I think, thank you. I think it's because of people like you, Mel, and people like you, Jess, and Miguel, you today too, being able to stand up and say these things. And as a young woman watching that has been incredibly empowering. Oh, I didn't think I was gonna get teary. It's been incredibly empowering and beautiful to see, because I don't know that my mom saw that, and I don't know that her mom saw that. And so I think that changes the game a little bit.
So nicely said. I believe it wasn't an option for so many people. And I think when people say like, oh, I can choose not to do these things and the quality of my life will still be good and I won't spontaneously combust into fire, like it does become a viable option.
And there are other considerations, right? Like, I don't think anyone should have a child because people expect them to. You have to want to have children, or else you're doing a disservice to those children, right? And there's a lot of reasons why people don't have kids, like the money. Just talking about going to restaurants with kids. It's wildly expensive, and you might not be in that position regardless of what age you're at.
Healthcare,
all of it. I'll just quickly, for a lot of the people who want to become mothers and can't become mothers, I just want to give a voice to them, because that's the one part of the Andrew Garfield part that I was like, I think you're missing one part of this, which is you have the luxury, to your point, to say at 40, I'm opting out, but when he's 75 and is Robert De Niro, you can still be giving children to the world. And I think for a lot of women, the pressure is different than a man.
Definitely.
Because by 40, there's a very, very different biological reality.
I'm gonna,
You're being such a good
I love
girl.
when I could keep going, but I've been told to zip it.
Subscribe to the Social Podcast so you don't miss a fiery debate. Until next time, socialites.